This email is from a retired teacher in Fairbanks who moved in with her daughter's family to save on their energy costs. Something's got to change. Getting a surprise $500 electric bill last month and now a $600 fuel bill has got to be hurting other people as much as it is me. I never dreamt I'd see the day when car insurance costs so much less than my electric bill. It's become scary. This one is from a retired couple. It's just myself and my husband. Our fuel and electric usage is a third less than it was a year ago, but our bills continue to rise. Over $1,000 a month for electric and fuel. We hit with the higher costs of goods and services because businesses are trying to cover their increased costs as well. Mr. President, I wish I could say that these were not typical letters, but unfortunately I received them almost daily, emails, letters. And in the first 32 days of the session, they've been coming in even more frequently. While the energy costs facing interior Alaskans pale to the comparison to what our friends and neighbors in many of the rural areas and remote areas of the state have faced for decades, these costs are crippling the economy of Alaska's second largest city, stifling development, forcing families to start looking to move south, and when they're moving south, they're not moving to Anchorage, they're moving out of state. This is not unique to Fairbanks. We see it throughout the rural areas where fuel costs can be as high as $9 or $10 for gas and oil. The Fairbanks area spends roughly $660 million annually on energy costs. This is an average of $6,600 for every man, woman, and child living in the city. The combined cost of electricity and heating in Fairbanks is approaching 30% of the average family's after-tax income. In November, Golden Valley Electric Association increased their rates by 23%. They did this because they're producing 40% of their power by burning oil. This increase put the kilowatt-hour charge at 24 cents. This comes out to an annual electric bill of over $2,000 for the average household in Fairbanks. In addition to these standard costs of Fairbanks, we also need to plug our cars in to get them started in the morning. Even though people have put timers on them to use the minimum amount of electricity to make sure that they get their cars started, they're still increasing their electric bill about $300. And these are just average costs. Many get much larger than that. Combine your electric bill with a $6,000 annual fuel bill, and you'll see why many working families are being forced to choose between energy bills, groceries, or medicines, or school clothes. I know this sounds rather dramatic, but it's actually what's happening. Again, I recognize and respect that my friends from the farther flung regions of our state have endured these costs for many years. I received a letter from a small business owner last month who has taken advantage of the energy efficiency rebate program, the weatherization program, the local wood stove change-out program, and our electric utilities home sense program. After taking advantage of all these worthwhile conservation programs, her bills are still higher this year than last. She struggles affording the better bills and the energy to plug in her truck and drive into town for the second job that she was required to take to make ends meet. Mr. President, the high cost of energy is a problem that has been plaguing much of Alaska since before the high cost of oil began to fill our state's coffer with surplus dollars. I'd remind my colleagues that these energy prices I've spoken of today were the result of $107 a barrel oil. Yesterday, Alaska's North Slope crude closed at $120 a barrel. With many predicting continued increases to the price of oil, we must ask ourselves, what will the residents of Alaska have to pay to heat their homes when we reconvene for the 28th legislature? I believe wholeheartedly we in this branch of our state government were elected to develop solutions to the challenges facing our state. We must take actions before residents of the state are forced to choose between living in the last frontier or uprooting their families and as they can't afford to stay in Alaska any longer. This is happening. I run into people in the airport every now and then and say hi to them, and they are quick to explain to me that they're not living in Fairbanks anymore. They're just traveling through. They've become some of those people that are either working on the pipeline or working on the North Slope and living outside the state of Alaska. This winter brought particularly extreme weather to interior Alaska and other parts of the state. Fairbanks saw the mercury hit 50 below in November. January saw 16 straight days of 40 below temperatures. These record cold snaps wiped out families' entire winter energy budgets just in a matter of about half of the winter. This winter we witnessed the dramatic voyage of the Healy and the Renda, delivering needed fuel and hope to Nome after storms and winter weather froze the waters of Norton Sound. Just as all Alaskans cheered on these ships and their crews and their mission, I hope we in the legislature can unite behind a plan to deliver energy relief to Alaskans across the state. Mr. President, I'm a lifelong Alaskan. I could talk all day about the challenges facing my community and my constituents as a result of high energy prices. The reality is that we have a pipeline that runs right through the state of Alaska. We have some of the greatest natural resources in our state, greater than almost any other state. In Fairbanks, we not only have that pipeline, but we have 2 refineries that produce heating fuel, jet fuel, and gasoline. Yet interior Alaskans continue to pay the highest energy cost in the nation, with the exception of our friends in rural Alaska. Our Constitution says that our natural resources should be made available for the maximum use consistent with the public interest. Surely providing Alaskans with some relief from the high cost of the state's own resources serves this purpose. Leadership is not sitting back and hoping for the best. Leadership is not betting our constituents' livelihoods on the whims of the world's oil markets. We in this body must take steps this session to help our constituents weather the energy crisis facing our communities. Mr. President, let's not let this issue drive a wedge between Alaskans. Every Alaskan faces the high cost of energy. Every member of this body knows family and friends who have faced hard choices because of rising costs. Let's demonstrate to every Alaskan that we can work together smartly, responsibly, and creatively to address this growing problem. Let's show that we can put aside regionalism, partisanship, and any other distraction that keeps us from solving the greatest challenge facing far too many Alaskan families. I ask you again, where will our communities, our constituents, and our families be this time next year if we do not take action this session? I'm very pleased that the members of this body, working across partisan and regional lines, have developed a piece of legislation that will help Alaskans' working families persevere through today's high energy prices. Our plan will spend mere pennies of the state surplus to provide some relief. I think it's a worthwhile investment. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Collins.